Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Really good. Just that comments on parking in smalls and just our thoughts on which are the next to go. Piton, good example. Just a lot there. Um, Option reads have been really locked in and solid for me. Did really well on Coin MSTR again. Um, just it's a really unique. Well, I guess it's kind of typical time in crypto where you we had like really good entries on stuff, and then you get the big pullbacks, and then they go back up. And so when you have the core position, it's a hell of a lot easier to manage that than the people trying to call the top on MSTR or whatever the hell they're doing. So those after earnings always pretty good. So got some good trades there. ER Casino just massive win on Eli Lilly, and sort of just I actually took a day off on that room after that when you get one like that, like 1,500% the next morning. So yeah, good times for me. Just kind of enjoying our reads on the market playing out.
Yeah, and that's with you on the Piton. To me this week. It was kind of interesting that the 7 out of 10 names were the ones that did it. Snapchat had a good week for me, and then Roblox as well. Um,
Yeah,
RMBS, that little semi move to start the week. Rumble, I got a nice little trade off of that. Um, a little bit more active for me this week, but I don't think my plan changed. I think that was just because of the setups were there a little bit, and I have a little more clarity after we had. If you look at SPY, we're on our second pullback candle, really our third if you played along. So just that we're in a range, and I kind of know how the market's going right now. I call it the firework market because you gotta light the fuse and walk away, and it's gonna go off. You know, you just gotta kind of
yeah,
wait for the damn thing to go off, and sizing does help there still. So just a good time if you're not greedy. I know there's about 7 or 8 unk sayings in that last two sentences, but it's all really paying off right now. Shout out definitely to you. Your reads are helping in that regard.
yeah,
I usually just use them for confirmation, not direction. Um, like I don't see something and go, let me go trade that. I mean, it happens, 1 out of 20 maybe. Something just looks super juicy. Usually it's all
yeah.
right. This is on my level, and to check. But lately, you've been picking up quite a few more. So shout out to you on that for finding stuff just early. And normally that's my game. You normally can find the tops. So
Yeah, yeah.
good stuff there. But again, it's the stuff we've been on.
Right. And yeah, there's been a couple things for me that I mean, these are more like option type trades, but things like QQQ, I've noticed around 492. Um, that's been a big pivot, and especially when it loses that, it just nosedives like 7, 10 points, and that that's helped a lot. Kind of read that through SQQQ a bit, but then on the other side, I mean, Apple opens down 2% after ER, and it's the first of the month. I mean, that's going to go up. Like, so that I was like, where do you think you're going to take Apple at that point? It's not going to. I talk about not chasing puts, but as far as like the quick hitters in my notes, um, it has to do with the flow setup. But that one in particular um, is going to get bought back up, and then it might go. It might just retrace back down. But kind of when you want a quick one, that certainly was there on Friday as well.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I think that's just adjusting the market conditions for you, and that clarity is good. Your second or third time around in these bull or bear runs. It
Yeah, for
starts
sure.
to
Yeah.
pay off on what you see. I mean, I notice it in your reads, um, because I start getting a lot more of them all time high charts. So just in general, like what where you swim changes a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
because like find I mean me, I like to find bottoms. Right now we got to find higher lows. It's a totally different ball game.
Right. No,
and you
absolutely. And one that I wanted to talk about that you will get to, and I know we're going to do a lot of individual names here, but when we were looking at Microsoft and it had the drop after earnings and 5% or whatever. But when you zoom out, that's not really that much from where we were from the last time we entered it and all that. And I wasn't really not like I was early on Microsoft last time, but I got it at like 310 and 320 is where I bought it. And it's I ended up I've sold most of it over 400. 450 I was like, okay, I'm out. I just cleared everything. And so now it's setting back up and you're just sort of looking for that next setup. And I was looking at their PE ratio is in the like lower 30s. And I mean, that's really good to me, like for a company like that, like them. And so it's just, if you're looking for a total collapse of the market, I just think that's really hard to do. So to me, with these big ones, I'm just looking for where is it that they're gonna set back up, and that's true for Microsoft, Adobe, whomever, and that for me, especially over the past couple of years, I do start to look at the investor side of things as well, and I just it's hard for me to see a real bubble here when I look at companies like that. I think it's more isolated. Yeah, some of the semiconductors and all that, but still, I see a lot of people at this point when you're at a market like this, they're looking for the next bear market, and I don't even know that if we enter some kind of technical bear market, I just I just don't think it's going to go as far down as they need it to with the way that they trade. You know what I mean? Like the to get puts on some of this stuff, you got to go so far out of the money and you're not going to be able to buy enough time. So it's just not the way to go. It's the biggest misstep I see shifting in Twitter right now is people trying to flip bearish, kind of in the wrong way. So I don't know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, well, the market's gonna breathe, for the lack of better terms. I mean, I think
Yeah, yeah,
that Microsoft is, um, the highlighted one of probably what will be strong if we do pull back. I mean, if you compare it to the Nvidia or Tesla, just the fundamental side of it, um, those have a lot more to give. Just to go back to like say Microsoft's level, which I mean, the last I say it regularly, like the last 15 years or basically through the tech cycles, 40 PE has kind of been the the going rate for those kind of companies, and so
yeah,
Microsoft at 30 is 25% under that, so that makes total sense. Where if you look at, I think in Nvidia right now it's probably at 60ish, and Tesla, who knows where Tesla is currently, but they're definitely higher than that. So I'm with you on the overall market. It doesn't seem like it's going to pull back. We don't really have a reason to pull back. I lied. Tesla's only 11. Jesus, really? No, so no, 68. Sorry, 68. Um, so yeah, so the high end right now is 70 and the low end's 30. So yeah, but the pullback's going to come from those winners and losers, and I think this week is not the week it's going to happen, but it's going to be a lot of the reasoning for that thesis, which is your rates and
yeah.
the president, right? Like those two things should really dictate what
Well, and
is going to change in this next cycle. You cover SaaS well, and I think that's kind of the indicator, the upstart indicator for you, so to speak. That if it's super bullish for stuff that's more of a growth sector, then you're going to see those names those names go. And if it's just a place to put your money because we need to weather a storm for the next 5 years, it is these larger caps that do
Well,
usually
yeah,
hold
and I
up
mean,
better.
and as far as SAS goes, when I mean the last bear market, snow was $400, right? And so and their fundamentals were just ridiculously, oh, overshot in every possible way. Well, it's $115 now. So after all the layoffs and restructuring and everything like that, um, them and stocks of that ilk have effectively you've had like a chart reset, a flow reset, and I'm not saying like snow couldn't go to $90 or something like that, but it's not going to make the move. It went from 400 to 120.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Let me pull that up.
that that's there's just so much more room above than below on a lot of these. The way that they've got the lean is the term I've used. So a lot of SaaS they've just gotten more lean and reorganized. We were on CrowdStrike when they kind of weathered their situation. So yeah, there's still going to be a lot of opportunities there. I think with the election, the biggest risk that traders are going to take, they're going to learn a very hard lesson on implied volatility,
Oh, sure,
because
sure.
from the perspective of whales, like the best way for them to make money is to use their muscle to keep some things flat and within a tighter range on an event that people expect is going to be this massive mover of the market in either direction. So someone's going to try to straddle SPY or even individual names, just buy Nvidia 160 and buy Nvidia 120p, and then here we go, here's the election, and then it moves 2%, and that's going to be the biggest losses this week. I think are going to be people trying to do that. So I avoid that sort of thing, especially through the election. Futures
Yeah,
are even worse. So yeah, people are going to get destroyed trying to do that.
yeah. No, I mean, I looked at Spy this morning for the first. I didn't really look at it last week. It was kind of obvious. I never had a what the
Yeah,
hell. Let me go look at Spy moment last week. But $15 candle, and I think that explains that a lot. It's just it didn't break out new high, kind of have a top, and definitely have some range. And I think you're going to see ranges exposed on charts this week. Um, around that. Probably the ones with ER a little more active because they'll have like the double news. Um, but yeah, for me, you just have a plan. You have a level, and I mean, I play upside, so I gotta wait for my level to hit to play the upside. But you just kind of have a plan to let things not necessarily get oversold, but just get overextended on the shorter time frames, and get a piece. And then as I've been preaching lately, if you're unsure, just treat it like two trades. Take half off, on that first, 10-20% run, and then stop loss the rest of the entry and see what happens. You really can't lose with that strategy. So I mean,
oh
that's
yeah,
how, that's how that's how I'm gonna play a lot of these scout plays next week. I mean, it's it's a selective gambling, I guess, is kind of how you call it. I don't really know how to
yeah, yeah.
explain it, but I mean, yeah, you just find the level, pre-market high or low. Those usually work great, especially if there's a historical level, and you just play the range. But um, I don't think it's the week to go long. I think that's what the needs to be said.
Right, and a two trade example, good one for me is Coin and MSTR. Like when I talked about those, I mean MSTR in particular, I'm $130, right? And so I have that, and I'm not really looking to clear that out per se. Um, Sold quite a bit over 240, but it's two trades now because there's a lot of room above. Crypto gets going, has a good day. Does a lot of pop and fade, so scalp both directions, but kind of keep it around that core position. It's definitely not the time to sit here and say, okay, MSTR dropped 6% on Friday. Time to go long. Here comes the bounce. It it can flash crash on you. That one in particular. So yeah, I mean the two trade thing, perfect example of that when you get in early. Roblox is like that for me. I still have Roblox shares from way the hell back when we were on that. But 36 has been so good that different account, different trade, but just hopping back in that one several times by now.
Yeah, and it's just proven itself through time too. To not to talk about individual names, it's proven itself through time that you can still buy in the this level, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should have 50 to 100% moves. I mean, that goes back to what you said earlier about charts with range. Um, that and like Piton. I mean, Piton was $50. I mean, if
yeah.
we get back to 20, it's gonna be some life changing
Right,
money
yeah.
for a lot of us. I mean, it's a great trade. So,
No,
um,
yeah, Pete on real quick. We go back to the early history and in that other room. I remember asking you about I was like, yeah, this $90 level, they're trying to do something, and you're just like, no.
not
And
yet.
so I was like, okay, all right, never mind. And then I think within a month it was under 50. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Want to talk about
Well, Piton, real
more?
quick. Piton's a good example of like, I mean, it was in our tradable range probably for a year and a half, 2 years, like when we finally established some levels. This is one of the times I get to say we, and I actually feel like it's me, so this is payback, P. Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
but it's it was in a really tradable range for probably almost a year, year and a half, and then it just kind of lost its way, and then out of the blue, you're like, it's time to go again. And fucking within like a month, it's pretty much testing this 840 level again. And I mean, most people out there are three blind mice on it, but we've been talking 840 for quite some time. So to watch it reject there post earnings, the same post earnings move it did previously is it's just I don't know.
what I
What
right.
else
I
do you
looked up
guys need?
my history with it before this. I mean, other than during the COVID stuff, but it was that eight and change to over 10,
Yep,
and then sometimes
yep,
it popped to like 11 or 12.
yep.
And so for us to to try to get back into that range, it definitely can do that. But I'm not at all surprised that
840
it
just gave it away.
popped there and faded.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
but the more you know, I mean, it's a good example of the more you know. I mean, 840 was something that if you search the group, it was again, it was 6 8 months that we were 840 on Piton, and then oh yeah, the flow's the double digits, and then um, just knowing that it's going to take a while to flip this level is I don't know. I'm giving away too much for these regular people. I'm going to stop.
yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. Uh, so um, boring stuff. I I do like I like oil right now still. I think time's your friend there.
Yeah, yeah. It's got
But the way that the 68 area uh, has held up, and it when it dips below that, comes right back. I mean, we've been in this for quite a while now, and you can go back to that was where it took off from in like December 21, and so this where you see like a lot of those stocks in relation to where the oil price is. Um, there's just a lot to like there. And then you look at the earnings were solid, like CVX. That was the one I had. So and even the way Exxon is held up near all time highs and all that. There's a lot to like there, and um, I think there's a lot of I don't know like geopolitical news and things that it's a little bit artificial to hold it in this range for a while, and then I think it's just probably going to break to the upside. I expect next year to be pretty good for oil. I don't know what you see, but I know you like some of those charts.
I know OPEC is releasing gas or being asked to release gas currently just to keep the price down for whatever. I don't know why. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, there's not an oil shortage or anything right now, so being asked to produce like we're about to do something kind of seems like on the table. But for me, there's no divergence in the charts and like the ones I'm following and the price of oil. Like you're getting the oil is 12% down over the last month. So those charts are some of them are about 12% down. It's just
yeah,
it's just what it is, and they'll outperform when oil goes up or there's fear of an oil shortage. And the ones that I mess with are a little more longer term play. I mean, those aren't day trades, those aren't month trades. Those are like quarterly trades. You got to buy when they're sad, and it's a little slower moving ship. And share side, the ones I'm in, I'm comfortable with hanging out in because they're huge names or they have a huge name backing them. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I would be a little more worried if oil was only down like 4 or 5% on the month, and these charts were down like 20. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty
right.
much they're real close to what oil's down, so no divergence in that. Um, yeah, just a good entry. That's how
Yeah,
it's oil.
right. Yeah, me too. That's where like DCA focus has been, and then I'll just like CVX took off a bit, take some from there, get Oxy. And here I'm talking individual names again, but yeah, I think you just have to have a plan there and just have a longer term outlook. Uh, Gold and silver have held up very well. Silver, this 32 area, I'm still on the kind of the 32 to 36 spot. Can break out well above that, so I still do like silver. And then gold just keeps gold just keeps churning higher. People like to say gold is telling you something, but during this whole run, spy's been fine too. So they're both moving up. So something's got to give there. But a collapse in gold doesn't seem particularly likely to me either. But I wouldn't be trading gold futures up here. I just think that there's a lot of miners that are still lagging a bit with a lot of room to go. So I think we're going to hit a cycle of news with miners and positive for once. So I'd kind of be looking for that personally.
Gold charts in general, they're halfway through the candles I need on higher low consolidation. Silver, I think you're good to go in right now. Just the ones that
Yeah,
we follow. But yeah,
yeah,
I leave that to you for the most part.
yeah, yeah.
Oil I can follow a little bit. But yeah, when we get into the other stuff, it's that's all you. Whatever you see, yes sir.
and then um, and then the last two, copper, um,
He means
really
aluminum.
strong. Nice pullback and consolidation here in the kind of the 430 area. Anything like 425 would be fine too. But the way that it established itself at four and then took off, I think was significant. So as far as leading indicators on recessions and things like that, I mean, copper is very healthy to me. And
Gets spicy at 460. Just TA.
yeah, yep, yeah, no, and that's where I think you could. And so what I look for is there's a couple particular copper stocks I follow, but again, I think the bigger opportunity is in aluminum, especially some aluminum smalls. So I think we'll be on those. And then lastly, natural gas to me is the ultimate one where you just got to be patient. This price is suppressed even more than oil. So these they're not really wanting it to break $3 because when it does break $3, I think it goes to five fairly quickly. So yeah, if you can just park some money there and avoid leverage, I think you'll do pretty well.
Yeah, 350 it gets ugly.
Yeah,
340 it gets back in that range. Not to get too off topic, but I was trying to rent an Airbnb and they want to charge 125 bucks a day and then another 50 a day. It's like 175 a day to heat the pool because of natural gas prices. It's like what the fuck? All right, that was enough of that. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so that market is spicy.
Right, right.
um, um, I got two parts. I wanted to talk a little bit about because I mean you trade a lot of. I mean, not to put you on the spot or anything, but that's what we
Yeah,
do here. So fuck it. You trade a lot of the same stuff like regularly, and I know there's no way in hell that like the Lily or the coin contract on Monday ain't the same as it is on Wednesday or Thursday. Like it's just a different price point. Where it's like share side for me, like the price is usually the same. I usually try to like know the percentages. Like we just ran 30%, so you know, 50% of that 30% pullback is 15. That would be a trend change. I'm looking for 15% of that. You know, I usually have a math equation because it's a stable price where option
Yeah.
contracts aren't. So reentry for me usually is a math equation and or a reason off an RTO level. Well, what reentry for you? How do you put that to work? Because we get a lot of questions about reentry, and they're usually on the option side, and um, a lot of times I don't want to type it, so I'll say it here. But I'm like, you missed the move that Professor found. Like it just ran
Right, right.
15%. It's got to reset up. So for me, you can. I mean, if something runs 50%, pulls back, do a higher low, that still leaves you 40% range of that top. Yeah, you can scalp 10 to 20% out of that retrace. But for I mean, that's easy. That's an easy thing. But on the option side, is what's like your checks for reentry?
Well, so the way I like to do options and what I look for in those morning notes usually is there's some pivot below that I'm wanting it to flush to. So it's like there's two trades I have in mind. So one is, I'm looking for, I talk about trading into a strong move early. And so I'm looking there. And those are small trades. And it's usually a put to the level at, I like those to be like in the $200 to $300 range, usually like one contract. I'm trying to sell it for 500 or whatever. And then I'll enter long when it flushes below the level and sort of just parks there, consolidates, or it bounces quickly, and I'll get back in. But a lot of it in terms of the re-entries are always smaller for me, because those initial moves usually have the most strength to them, and then it's
Yeah.
going to kind of grind up. So I buy on the secondary move, I buy extra time at the same strike. So the position itself, I've kind of lowered the risk and expectation on that, and I only do that if I have success early in the day to re-enter. So I only like to re-enter out of profit I already made.
So it's
I don't
it's
revenge trade it. Yeah.
it's has nothing to do with the option price except for affordability, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. So I want to me, I don't like to buy anything that I want it to get in the money as quickly as possible. I don't
Oh,
like
sure, sure.
to I don't like to trade premiums on contracts that really don't have any chance of doing anything as far as like their future. I mean, yeah, you can get $100 a premium on something, you know, $20 out of the money on MSTR or something like that. But I see a setup where I want the flow to say, okay, this is going to go, this is likely going to go in the money if this moves how the whales are anticipating and doing it, and getting in the money as quickly as possible is what I'm always after with options, because time is not on your side for those. So that's the thing. So for me, it is actually the price I want for the option never changes that much. It's and so that's what I look at. So I'm actually, it's not always that I'm re-entering the same contract. It is a plausible contract at this particular price point. And so for me, typically it's between $300 and $500 because I like the $300 to $500 trade. That's what I like
It's a
for
great trade.
options on day trades. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just try to keep doing that over and over again. And if I have three of them, I'll keep one, and I'm willing to just let it go back to my entry or whatever. If the position is large enough to need a hedge, I do that. I talked the other day about like someone was trying out a trade, to learn it, and they just had one on both sides, and that's just not really how you do it, because that's really a good way to just stay stay flat or red, because the time's going to eat you up there. But yeah, so that for me, the reentry is about those prices. And then the last thing I'll say about it too is, um, with weeklies, I like them on Monday, Tuesday, because you kind of have enough time. Theta's not just killing you actively every 5 minutes. And then I switch to the next week on Wednesday, with the exception of Friday. I do the zero DTE thing, but it's very early in the morning, and that's a lot of experience there. So I don't really necessarily recommend people doing that unless they really start to chart these contracts, and see kind of how that goes.
No, so that makes sense. It's more of like the I don't know. It's almost how I trade I used to trade consolidation when pre 2021 when we had a lot of range in consolidation before the super bullish market. You'd find a stock that had you know 10-15% range both ways, and it just stayed there, and you could play that a lot like Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab's a good example.
Yeah,
If they're a
yeah,
little fresher, where it was 4 to 477, and I was trading the shit out of that. In retrospect, you should have just full ported and walked away, but um, that makes sense to how that applies, because that's similar setup to that. Because for me, price is just so important, um, especially after moves, right? I mean, because that's what a re-entry is usually after a move up or down. You're not asking me to re-enter and it's at the same price. Usually, you're asking because it's 15% above the price that we talked about buying it at. So re-entry for me is all about that psychological, oversold, overbought,
well,
and
oh yeah, and then it very much, it just depends on the stock. Like, Eli
sure.
Lilly, you can't really do, like I said, I like him at 300. You can't really trade that cheap on that one. So that one, it's like, 700 to 1,000. That's what you're trying for with that. And I just get a good read on stocks like that. So that's why I target those. I would rather have a $700 position of one of those than, I don't know, 50 snap contracts. Like, I just, that's just not how I do it.
Sure.
So yeah. And then the thing I'll say too, you've seen them, those train wreck P&L posts that people like talk
Oh,
about blowing up their account. And when you see the way that line looks on the Robinhood account, that purely is, it looks algorithmic, and it in fact is, because that's how the Greeks function on those, and that's purely theta right there. It's just eating them up, because SPY itself usually, on it's not like they bought puts on SPY and it popped up 1%.
yeah.
Um, they bought puts on SPY, and it just parked there, or it stayed within a range of like a quarter of a percent for 3 hours, and then their account just drops to zero, and they're just praying for a miracle at the end of the day. And that's just not where you want to be. So for me, I have a move in mind. I know how the contract's going to move if I see that, and if it doesn't, you just get out. You don't hope for a recovery on something that's going to expire.
No, that makes sense. That you guys have the option to move to the downside instantly. I think
Yeah,
that's one thing that stands out to me in this conversation that I don't have, because that's where the only divergence. I mean, I think we play the front part of it pretty similar, but when I hit a level and it consolidates, like I can hang out with that half, and you're going to get chewed up sideways. Or if it does just retrace to the downside, I have to get out where you can play the other side. So yeah, no, I think that's something that we need to address a little bit more, because it's not super clear to me how you exactly play it, and I'm sure the way I do it's not super clear to you. So shedding light on that.
yeah, and I think it's one of those situations too where, I mean, I learned this with notes even in, like in the other room, um, being really specific about contracts actually gets people to mess it up. Like
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
it's the alert thing.
yeah,
So I prefer it to I put my notes up more on the underlying price, trade around that, and then as people ask questions, they can kind of build their own style. And so that's worked really well with several people in the room. Biggest key to that though, you have to have chart time. This idea that well, what do you do? I have to be gone for a couple hours. What do you do with all your option positions? Uh, I don't have them anymore. Or even with a stop, you put a stop on an Eli Lilly contract, you might get filled $200 below what you planned on. There's no, it's a liquidity issue in volume, so you don't want to do that either. But yeah, you got to have chart time. If you don't have chart time, we got plenty of methods for that too. So
yep,
yeah,
yeah. I'll save that for later. We run a little light on time here, but we're gonna be
yeah,
we have to talk the election and rates real quick. I mean,
yeah.
obviously gonna create a volatility in the week. Um, let's just two part it just to save a little on time here. Who do you think is gonna win, and what is the rate, or who you think is gonna be the perceived winner this time next week? That's probably the better
No.
question. And the rate, and what's your call on the rate decision? Um, since I'm asking, I'll throw mine out there first. I think Trump will be the perceived winner. And then I think we're only going to get 25 on the rate cut, and the market's going to pout about it again. That's what I think we're going to do.
I I think Harris is going to win. I'll go ahead and say that, and then I'm going to say I'm with you on the rate cut
The
thing.
2.5.
Um, yeah, 2.5. I see kind of a late surge from her. So yeah, I mean, well, that's gonna be pretty close. Gonna come down to same states it always does, but yeah, I think she probably wins. I'm definitely open to the possibility of him winning. And the I I perceive that if he does win, there'll be a lot of people off sides because I think his win was priced in to some extent.
Sure.
So I think you could see a decent pullback in some things that people are not expecting.
So,
And particularly crypto is the one I watch most closely. The 100K moonshot just on him winning is not the most likely path. I think as far as they're wanting to just they're looking for liquidity and leverage, and they want to clear out leverage, and most of the leverage is up. So easiest thing to do is pull us back, and we're in a good spot to pull back from without the whole structure of the thing breaking down.
all right, and the second part of this question, which I think is the better question, or more intriguing question, is what combo of that is the best, or would produce the best result um, for the end of the year for the market?
Um, well, I think best in terms of most sustainable would be Harris.
A Harris win,
The grind, the
and what
grind up. I think the Trump win is a pop and fade to
and
me.
what about the
Is
rate?
what I would say. No, the rate.
The best case. So a Harris win with what rate cut would be the best for the end of the year?
Well, I think half a percent would be the best.
Yeah, we had that wasn't as interesting as the conversation because that's exactly what I have
Okay.
down. No, I'm with you. I'm with you with the Trump baked in. I think you'd get a little. I don't think if Harris won, you would see a flood out of the market, but I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of stocks. Um, the one you're talking about, or keep saying you're going to talk about a lot regularly. I think that is perfect timing for a Harris victory because that strike stops, and they're bullish on the war stuff. So um,
Yeah.
I just that's the McDonald's of that industry. So I think stuff like that, people will be way off sides, and there's probably 100 more names that I can't think of now, but I definitely think the other side's set up like you're saying already, and they've kind of left the stuff that would be pro for her to dead, so to speak. So um, yeah, I think we'd get and again, I don't think they would sell off the Trump side stuff. Like I don't think you would see a big dip in a lot of names. I just think the other names would catch up that are kind of lagging because they are more of a blue name, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think the the red and blue names, this reshuffling, like you can't even at this point really say that EV is a blue thing. I mean, you got
No.
Elon Musk jumping jacks on the Trump stage, and then like you said, the perception of the liberal hippie peacenik kind of thing doesn't really work either when you just look at the track record for the Democrats in defense. That you know we'll still we'll be dropping some bombs.
Well, I mean,
So
just to
I
give you like the two sides for me. I mean, the stuff that comes to mind, like, I mean, it's like restaurants are going to do really good if Harris wins. I mean,
yeah.
they don't have the health guru about to about to come in on them, right? Like,
Oh, right,
I
right,
think a
yeah,
lot of
right.
people don't see that angle, but McDonald's in
Yeah.
trouble if Trump wins. Um,
I don't know. Puts on fluoride if Trump wins, I guess. Right. Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Johnson, watch out. But
Right.
um, the Elon thing, I'm waiting for Trump to win before I say it. But man, think about that UPS or yeah, United States Postal Service deal that we used to have on the
Yeah.
table. Think about that and
Right.
Elon. Just put those two
Right.
things together real quick.
Right.
Or anything, right? Any kind of deal with electric cars for the government. Yeah, but the time and place for that.
Yeah.
Time and place for
The
that.
Office of Government Efficiency thing. Like, yeah. I mean, there's a whole series of
Yeah, I'm sure
trades
they're going to be
related to
pushing
that.
EV
Yeah.
cars for the government, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then we'll go with we'll just walk down that path. Well, they have to be American made. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
And the tariff thing. I mean, yeah. We'll have a lot to talk about
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure
yeah, yeah. But yeah, not
with
to
all
open a
that.
can of
Yeah.
worms. Let's get into SPY here before we spend all day in here.
Yep.
82.72 for you last week. 83.75 for me. What do we get on the top and bottom here, P? 83 up top. Winner, winner. Bro, I was off by 9 cents on that top.
Yeah.
You're a buck right there, so you're not super far behind. 68 on the down. You were right, a little more downside than that. About $4 off. I was almost solid 10. So a little more dip last week. TA is going to get a little easier or more friendly, but I did it earlier in the session. I don't know if you guys see me playing around, but you can kind of see a support resistance flip right there. So that 565 kind of on the big picture is trend change for me currently. Should we test around that level? Yeah, but you should show strength off that level for the next week. So healthier chart. I mean, I guess people don't get that from a TA side, but you need pullback. Thank God we finally got some pullback. Um, Three candles have been the most this year. You see it right there and right there on your handy dandy chart. So I think with the range, we probably stay inside bar, maybe a little top breakout this week. What are you seeing over there, P?
Uh, so 11:15, 550p, pretty active. Um, a lot of open interest there. It's piling in about 10,000 volume a day. So that everything's always dwarfed by the intraday volume, which is in like the hundreds of thousands. But just in terms of building a kind of downside pullback hedge, that 550 area stands out. So that'd be 20 points in 2 weeks. Not too. I mean, it's significant, but not too crazy. So I do think to me that says 565 area like this week is possible on a pullback. Um, so that matches up with what I guess what you're saying.
A little bit.
So that yeah, kind of looking at my downside area numbers there. Yeah, I'm gonna say like 562.77 on the
562.
downside,
Okay. You went lower than me again.
and then it's kind of limited upside to me this week. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
579.47.
Jesus. So I got 566.14, which is kind of what you said with the first number you led with. Like it's like, all right, we're gonna be close, but you went $4 lower than me on the downside. Um, Again, I mean that's a trend here now. And then 579.69 shout out Goose is what I had. So I mean I don't even got to ask the question, do we hit 580 this week? I think we both see it as a resistance level this
Yeah,
week
yeah.
this week.
Well,
So
I'll tell you what the difference in our downside. Very plausible that that's a wick and that's some pre-market
sure.
flush that doesn't last. We've seen that before too. So yeah, I think we see something similar this week.
Yeah, and I mean we stay inside bar or whatever at 572, 573, so getting a close in there that kind of makes total sense. Just if you're trying to find an equilibrium this week, I mean we could have some spicy ranges depending on how things line up. So, what was I gonna say on spy? I had a spy question and oh, do you ever um like because I listened to you talk about they're buying these 550s. I think it was, and then there was that September move. Remember, early April, whatever
Yeah.
it was, all that September shit. Um, do you ever go like, man, they got to buy something? Like they have to be hedged. Like so they have to buy something, right? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they have to they have to put it somewhere. They have to guess. Did you ever get that feeling as more of that's what's going on than all right, this is direct? Does that kind of shake out on this chart, or is it just too
Well,
noisy?
yeah. So I think what I look at when you hear me talk about it, when I talk about 550, I'm not talking about the market flushing below that,
Sure.
but I'm thinking of what is the range that keeps this contract viable before they give up on it and punt to something else. Because you'll see they'll do that dramatically. The bid side flips, and it's not they're selling to close when that happens, and so they're just clearing it out at the bid price, and then they move on to something else. So yeah, so for me, it's a little bit like it's kind of like a rubber band theory that the market's gonna pull back, but it's just really gonna struggle to get all the way to their level, and then the rubber band kind of contracts. So that's mostly what I'm looking for. But yes, the ultimate theory is like they have to hedge. They're going to be in something. This is what they're in, and then what do they what do they see with it? And then I have to decide, well, how can I hedge around this? I'm not buying these spy contracts, but like for me, it's like SQQQ. When I start talking about that, that's where that pops back up. So it's not a good way to find the next market crash at all. But it is when I see them get more aggressive. All of a sudden, spies at 580, and they're piling in 10,000 contracts at a time with this hedge. Then that tells me we're going to pull back a bit and reset, and then go from there.
No, perfect. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, P, you ready to get to work?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.